Hill. Off the post, into the net.
Reds, Cubbies, watch the Chicago fan. That is a nice catch.
Snag, doesn't spill the beer.
Didn't spill the beer. It was hot yesterday in Chicago. I think close to 90. Dude got on a Clint black shirt right there. Don't like the black golf shirt and everything, but great hands there. Save somebody's head.
A's and M's, Ramon Laureano. Watch the catch. A little bit of luck there. Thank you. We're rolling the R's this morning.
Yeah, she's doing it.
I meant to catch, but...
Yeah, the last 2 days she butchered.
What'd you say?
She butchered some names.
I said I meant to catch, but I actually did mean your accent. That was great.
Hey, you know what? Welcome to the show. You fit right in.
Yeah. Took Broussard a bit of time, but now he's a member of the family, picking on Jenna.
Moving on to the Thunder. Get in line, Broussard. Get in line. The Thunder still looking for suitors for their newly acquired point guard, Chris Paul. Not an easy task. Well, the guy's 34. He's on a 3-year, $124 million contract, and his game is on the decline. And now recent reports there's increasing expectations that he will start the season with OKC. Whether or not he finishes it, we will discuss. Broussard, good idea to keep CP3?
Well, I mean, it's the only idea. It's not like they'd like to keep CP3, but they just can't move him, and I'd rather keep him than give him up for a bad deal. So, best case scenario for them, you start him alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai is 6'6", so you should be able to play them together. And Chris plays well. Say he's averaging 16 and 7. I'm trying to be realistic. 16.7 assists. And then December 15th, when the free agents become available for trades, maybe you can move him. Maybe a contender's watching, and he looks like he still got it, and you can move him. But that's the best case scenario. Shai has to be the ball handler. He has to be essentially the point guard. They'll alternate, but he's your point guard of the future, so you got to let him go.
Yeah, you got to be careful, though. There's an All-State commercial that Chris Paul's a part of, the one where the deers in the garage start just kicking out all this. He could do that in your locker room, too, because he knows he's not going to be there. This is the worst spot that he's been in his whole career.
No question.
And he overplayed his hand. When those rumors got out that him and Harden weren't getting along, and people started looking into it, and then ultimately they moved him, it lets you know that there was a lot more truth to it, and they picked Harden,
of course,
over him. So when you've been trying to win championships or put yourself in position, when we've had all these super teams, because almost his whole career, there have been super teams out there, and now you have no hope, this is a dangerous spot. Even though you got guaranteed money, man, people can act up in a locker room, more so when it's guaranteed. You know why? They can say whatever they want. Ain't no repercussions. Who's going to do something to them? As long as they show up to work.
The one thing, and you're right, I mean, it's a terrible situation for Chris Paul. But and he may not be able to control himself, but you hope that he realizes, look, if you're a good soldier, if there's no problems, no reports about you messing up the locker room, being too hard on your teammates, then we have a better chance of moving you in December or February or something like that. That's what they have to get across to him, because you're absolutely right.
But he might get moved to Minnesota. Like, he might get moved. He might get moved to the Knicks. Like, the whole.
At least there's hope, though, in Minnesota. At least you got Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, you're not winning a championship, but you know what I mean. At least you could be
right. You know the Thunder.
Is your point he
and the Knicks, he's not getting
even less of a chance than he has now?
Well, the Knicks aren't taking him.
Then you're certain of that?
They weren't. It's real that they weren't interested in Westbrook.
Yeah, I talked to the Knicks yesterday.
And?
Okay.
They're not
in the market for him.
No.
Okay. All right. I just thought the reason I bring up the Knicks is they have all those guys they signed. They signed 11 power forwards this offseason that can. All those are guys that can be traded December 5th.
When they couldn't get Kawhi and KD, and they couldn't work that out, everyone was going to be on a short-term deal. Right. That was their plan B, C, and D after moving on from the big free agents compared to Danny Ainge, that big whopper of a lie he told.
So, but here's the hope for Chris Paul. That he can show the world, man, I wasn't in a decline. I was with Harden. I wasn't able to be me. I don't believe, by the way, this is not what I believe, but I'm saying if you're Chris Paul, maybe it's, man, I'm still, am I league MVP level Chris Paul? No. But I'm still one of the 5 best point guards in basketball. I was just in a position where I was with the most ball-dominant player in the history of the league last year. And so what did you expect from me? And that he can show a contender, I'm worth this. But This is going to be tough, man. He's never been in the NBA wilderness. He's never been on a team that don't matter where he's not a superstar. And now there's been times he hasn't been a superstar in Houston, I would argue, but the team really mattered. You knew you had that carrot of the playoffs waiting for you. He doesn't have that. The problem for OKC is this. It's in their benefit to be bad.
Well, they're going to be bad. Well, I mean, not horrible, but they're going to be bad.
As long as Chris Paul and Gallinari are on the roster, they'll be competent.
In the West?
No, they can't make the playoffs. My point is, when you're talking about their best picks moving forward are their own. They're not going to be one of the 5 worst teams in the league like they want to be until they trade Gallo's expiring deal, until they move off Chris Paul, and they go with Shea and the young guys.
Yeah. Gallo may get hurt, and I don't think Chris will have the opportunity to show he's a top 5 point guard still. He might, maybe he is. I'm kind of with you, but
I might
maybe
make
he
a
is.
list on that one. The top 5 might be pushed.
Right.
I don't think
I don't think he's gonna have the ball. Like they need to have the ball in Shea's hands a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chris is gonna have it sometimes. That's why I think something like 16-7 might be the best you can hope for. Like his numbers aren't gonna be huge for them.
Yeah, I still think Chris Paul can get 20 points a game in the right situation. Now, it won't be in a winning situation, but Chris Paul still has that kind of skill. When you take the ball out of Chris Paul's hands and you say he averaged 16, 17 points, he goes back into a normal NBA offense, not one with Harden. I believe that he can do that. But this is the tale of great players, man, and especially guards. At the end, it's like a cliff. It's not that steady decline. It's a cliff. One day they wake up, and, man, they just don't have it. And that's where Chris Paul is right now.
And I just don't know if the audience realizes how small he is. Like, Chris, you brought him over when the Rockets were playing the Nets or the Knicks. He's my wife's favorite player, one of them. You brought him over to say hello to her. He and I stand in. He is this much shorter than me. I know you joke I'm 5'8". I'm barely 6 feet. And he is, I mean, he is a tiny NBA player. There's no history of those guys aging great into year 15.
Well, Steve Nash led the league in assists in year 15.
Steve Nash, 6'2½"?
Yeah, but he's a slight guy. He's a little taller, but he wasn't as athletic, obviously, as Chris Stockton.
All right, Broussard, we've got to take a break.
Nash. We took a class at Barry's boot camp. Went down and tried that.
See you a little bit later on in the show.
About 6'1".
Relevant. Which Pro Bowler does Tony Romo think is key to the Cowboys season?
Act like it was.
We're going to take a break.